In this video, we will learn about the greenhouse gases and their impact on our climate. Let's first understand what is meant by greenhouse effect. Now, a greenhouse is a building with glass walls and glass roof as shown here. And greenhouses are used to grow plants such as tomatoes and tropical flowers. Now, the peculiarity of a greenhouse is that it stays warm even during winter. So as you can see here, this is a penguin, shows that the climate outside is really cold. But the greenhouse stays warm even during winters. Now in the daytime, the sunlight shines into the greenhouse and warms the plants and the air inside. At night time, it becomes cold outside, but the greenhouse stays pretty warm inside, and that is because the glass walls of the greenhouse trap the sun's heat. So basically the greenhouse traps the sun's heat. Now the greenhouse effect works the same way on Earth. So the gases in the atmosphere, so this is the atmosphere here, and these are different gases in the atmosphere. So the gases in the atmosphere act as the greenhouse and trap heat similar to the glass roof of a greenhouse. Now these heat trapping gases are called the greenhouse gases. So what are these greenhouse gases? So carbon dioxide is the most common greenhouse gas. This is CO2. But there are others also, such as methane, which is CH4, nitrous oxide, which is N2O, water vapor, etc. Nitrous oxide is also known as laughing gas. Methane is the main ingredient in the natural gas, which is generally used to run the stove or water heater in our households. Now, during the day, the sun shines through the atmosphere. The Earth's surface warms up in the sunlight. Now at night, the Earth's surface cools down, releasing the heat back into the air. But some of the heat is trapped by the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. This is what keeps our Earth warm and cozy. So actually, if the greenhouse gases were not present, then the Earth would be very, very cold and probably not livable. But the greenhouse gases at the optimum level maintains the warmth of the Earth and keeps it cozy. However, this natural greenhouse effect is getting adversely impacted due to the increased emissions of greenhouse gases by human activities. So let us look at some of these adverse impacts of the increased greenhouse gases. Now, the average temperature of the world is almost 1 degree Celsius more than what it was in the pre-industrial times of 1850. The average of 1 degree may sound like a small increase in the global temperature, but it could actually cause a lot of trouble. Even though the global mean has gone up just by 1 degree Celsius, some regions may be heating up more than the others. For example, this could mean that the temperature in Australia could have gone up by 0.5 degrees Celsius, while that of Antarctica could be up almost by 6 degrees Celsius. So a small change in the average temperature makes a huge change in the extreme temperatures, which can result in proportionately large increase in the number of hotter days. So in a particular area, if the average number of hot days was, let's say, 20 or 30 in a year, this could be eventually increasing to 100 days a year or 150 or 200 days a year. Now what this means is that the excess of greenhouse gases is making the temperature rise, and unless we stop adding the greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, the temperature will keep on going up. And believe me, there is no scenario in which we keep on adding carbon to the atmosphere and the world stops getting hotter. And the hotter it gets, the harder it will be for humans to survive. So basically, eventually it is a threat to the survival of human beings. Now all this extra heat is going to cause various changes in the climate. The climate changes will create more hot days, and what eventually happens is that the sea levels will start going up. So it's a chain reaction which will cause and impact a lot of things in the climate. Now let's look at some of the adverse effects of this climate change. So depletion of ozone layer in the atmosphere, faster melting of the polar icebergs, frequent devastations caused by nature such as hurricanes, storms, floods, wildfires, destruction of buildings, road and power lines, which takes years to build. Also, there will be adverse impact on the plants and animals, causing them to die younger. So all this is the impact of increased greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. So it is very important to control the emission of these greenhouse gases. Now let us look at an article which was published in the Economic Times on 8th April 2023. The article has the title of Heat Map, Cost of Temperature Extremes. So as we saw earlier, the heat waves are increasing, the number of hot days in a year are increasing. So this article talks about what is going on in India. So it says the average number of heat wave days rose to the highest in a decade in 2022. Data released by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation showed the country reported 190 heat wave days in 2022, over 6 times higher than the previous year. As per an Indian Meteorological Department report, 2022 was the 5th warmest year since 1901, with temperatures 0.51 degrees Celsius above the 1981 to 2010 average. So the temperature has increased by 0.51 degrees as compared to the previous numbers. Now, so this is the heat wave that is increasing. Now, what is the impact? So it's saying a World Bank report indicates that India will suffer 2.5 to 4.5% of GDP loss by 2030 from lost labor hours owing to extreme heat and humidity conditions. So basically what it is saying is, because of this heat wave, the labor productivity, which kind of works in this hot and humid environment, will be impacted, and this in turn will have an impact of almost 2.5 to 4.5% of GDP loss by 2030. So this is the impact of the heat wave which is increasing. Now there are some statistics here of each of the states, like which are the states which are the most impacted and how many average number of heat wave days have these states received. So as it says, right, what is the significant heat wave cost? So as per the World Bank report, 40% of India's GDP is dependent on heat exposed work, and by 2030, 34 million of 80 million job losses due to productivity decline from heat stress will be in India. So this is a reason to worry, because the heat wave is eventually causing an impact to the GDP, and lost labor hours will lead to 2.5 to 4.5% of GDP loss. More losses as the temperature rises. So this is the impact of the increasing number of heat wave days.